Don't you look cute? Oh, I got you. Oh, Jesus. They're still not warming into me that much. Occasionally they'll let me stroke them. But anyway, the chickens are doing really good. You often ask how they're getting on. They're loving it right now. I let the grass overgrow, all the wildflowers. There's loads of little places for them to like get in hidden and sort of get snug, and they make little dust baths in between the flowers, and there's lavender over there which calms them that I planted last year. So chickens are doing really well, and I hope to get some more soon. I hope to adopt some more and they can have some more friends. I can give this space to them to see out the rest of their lives in happiness. So anyway, today I wanted to really touch on the real reasons why I had to start growing food. And I've got loads of fun jobs to do in the garden. It's not the most beautiful spring day in Wales, but I got to go outside. I've got things to do in the garden, and I'm so excited to show you what there is to do and the weird and wonderful things that I'm going to be growing and planting out today. See you, chickens? The sun is coming out. Yes, that's exactly what we want. First stop, greenhouse. And the sun is gone. But look at my greenhouse. Just look at the tomatoes. They are growing day by day by at least a few centimeters, I swear. And there's signs of tomatoes already. These stripy ones look incredible. I think that's a tie-dye variety of tomato, which I'm excited to try. Unfortunately, I got all my tomatoes mixed up, so I don't know which is which, but there should be some really exciting varieties. Now, I only planted these in the ground in the greenhouse a month ago. You would have seen me do it in the last garden video. And just to see how much they've grown in 1 month is unbelievable. Every now and then I'm picking out the suckers, which are the extra stems that come out between the branches that will sort of draw energy away from the plant to produce really big juicy fruit. But also you want to try and keep all of the energy on one stem just to keep it neat and so it doesn't grow into a huge bush. See, look at this. I've missed this one. This is a sucker that's growing out the side of this plant and is obviously taking energy away from the main stem and these tomatoes that are growing. But I didn't even notice it. So we'll take that out, and it may feel sad to take out a plant like that. But if you imagine, we want to try and keep this plant uniform. In the past, I didn't do this, and the weight of all the plant would fall down, and it'd be really impossible just to keep the plant thriving. But actually, a gardener that I really look up to and I'm inspired by, Moth and Ali, aka My Family Garden on YouTube, he actually will put this in a pot of soil, and he will get a harvest of tomatoes. So I'm going to take that inspiration and repot this cutting and see if we get an extra harvest, just by popping the cutting into a pot of rich compost. Today, the first thing I'm going to do is actually plant into the ground a gourd. I sowed some gourd seeds with my mum a few months ago, and I didn't expect it to work because it needs like warm conditions, but it worked fine. It germinated brilliantly in the greenhouse. A gourd is like a squash, and it can be dried out and used as a bowl. It can be used as a bottle, believe it or not, with a cork lid, and it can also be used as a drum or an instrument. Well, that's if I actually manage to produce a fruit. Fingers crossed, in the warmth in here we can. And there's a space just by here where a tomato actually failed. It does happen, but thankfully I've got loads of tomato plants that I'm going to pop this in the ground now, just like I did with the tomatoes. Come on, gourd, you've gored this. Gourd this? No, that's a rubbish. There's got to be a better pun than that. Gourd. Goodness gracious me. So what I've been doing with every plant that I plant out these days is actually dig a hole and fill it with fresh, healthy, new compost, just to give the plant the sort of kickstart and the nutrients it needs. And look at that root ball. That is beautiful. And just like I did with my tomatoes, I'm going to plant the twine underneath the root ball so that it has something to climb up and it will sort of almost get cemented in by the roots. And I will say, a lovely subscriber and viewer of the channel in the last garden video said to me, don't use twine, it's going to decompose in the ground before you know it. And I've always used twine, and last year I used it and it was fine, it lasted the whole season. And I replied to the comment saying, oh, look, I've used it many times, it's fine. 2 weeks later, the twine decomposed and it all broke. So I actually had to reinforce it all with this sort of wire stuff, much to my annoyance, but I was wrong. And for some reason, this twine failed on me, like the subscriber said, even though years before it always worked. There you go, there's your new home, my lovely little gourd. Have a good time. No, have a gourd time. That was rubbish. All right, the next thing I'm putting in the ground, believe it or not, chickpeas. Never thought about growing them, which is crazy really, because I eat so many chickpeas. I love chickpeas. Hummus, falafel, stews. These were actually gifted to me. I didn't plant these seeds. They were gifted to me when I featured on an S4C, a Welsh programme gardening show. The gardener Reese there gave them to me as a gift. He must know how much I love chickpeas somehow. And they're doing really well, Reese. Look how big they've got. Thank you. I'm going to get them in the ground now. Fingers crossed I can harvest some lovely chickpeas. Right, what's next? Well, I've got loads of squashes and amazing kind of pumpkins to plant out. But before I do that, beans. I've had some unsuccessful attempts of planting out beans recently. They keep getting eaten by slugs, but this time I'm determined they're going to be fine. And I've got an archway for them to climb over. So let's go and get them in the ground. Oh, it's getting a bit windy. Get my hat on. All right, so here's my archway that's newly installed that I hope my beans will enjoy climbing up. So I'm going to put a little bit of compost in each corner and around the base of the archway, and that's the beauty of having wood chip on the ground, that I can just put compost straight on top. We'll plant the beans in and fingers crossed they'll be happy in this place. Well, after my previous bean attempts have failed, I'm really counting on these because I cannot not have beans in my garden. And I'm using my container-wise tray here. They've grown so well and the roots are incredible on the bottom. Here's 3 different varieties. We've got Rhondda black beans. Rhondda is a place in Wales, so a native bean should grow well in Wales. And then we've also got Greek gigantes. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but a lovely creamy bean apparently. So we are gonna get these in the ground now. I reckon about 6 plants either side. Look at that, that is impressive. That's a nice sight when you've planted that seed yourself and then it's grown, and it just amazes me that all of the sort of DNA is locked within that seed for it to grow into a beautiful plant. And I've just been a steward of that. So let's get these into the ground. So last one's going in. I think 4 each side will be plenty. And then I've got a few more places where I can plant beans at the top. I need a lot of beans this year. I think one of the best things that I've grown over the years is giant pumpkins, and just pumpkins and squashes in general. So much fun, and watching them grow in front of your eyes almost is incredible, especially when you get some big juicy ones. And that's my next job, is to plant out some squashes and some pumpkins. I've got some unique varieties, starting with crookneck squash and patty pan squash. They're going to go in this bed, and then we're going to go up to the terrace. So let's go and get those. But I thought I'll just touch on the reasons why I actually do this. I don't know, in the early days when I first thought of moving back to Wales from the big city of London and starting to grow food, it was almost like a subconscious decision, that almost like I was just guided to do it. I know that sounds a bit weird, but with lockdown and with COVID at the time, stuck in London and in my house with, you know, a small balcony, I felt so powerless. I really didn't feel in control of where my food was coming from. I didn't feel, you know, very healthy eating the food that I was eating, and I knew I needed to make a change. So what I really could have done though is just grow food on my balcony. It was, you know, it wasn't that big, but you can grow a surprising amount of food in a small space. That I've come to understand that I didn't need a big garden like this. But as I've gone on the journey, and you would have seen it in my recipes, there's definitely now a huge emphasis on the providence and the story and the journey and you know, the slower paced life of growing and nurturing ingredients. And I hope that's inspiring you to grow food. I always say just try and grow one thing. I know from the feedback, loads of people are growing food, and I'm really proud, I feel, when I see other people, young people especially, growing food. But you just become at one, and you become at one with the surroundings and the seasons, which is something that I didn't expect. My mental clarity has improved so much since growing food, and it's something that I'll never stop doing for as long as I live. And actually, I'm trying to base my whole life around growing food and eating off the land. It's been the most incredible journey so far, just 4 years into my growing journey, just starting off with one raised bed, and now here I am on my sort of terrace garden, and I've got my new pathways, and we're starting off another new bed. It just feels very right. It feels normal. It feels like I should be doing this. And actually, when I listen and speak to my mum especially, her dad, and I'm sure his parents, they all grew food. It was a natural thing for us to do, to have food growing in whatever garden or community growing space that we had. So it's just about rebuilding that knowledge and learning it for myself. And I'm just trying to encourage more people to do the same. This is my favorite part of gardening, actually. It's planting out the plants. Sowing seeds is fun, but it is time consuming. But this part, when you've got a beautiful plant like that, that's healthy and strong, and it's ready to go in the ground and it's forever home, and in only a few weeks time it'll be pumping out fruit to eat, it's the best feeling. This is the summer crooked neck squash, which is a really unique squash. I've never grown it before. Hopefully it turns out good and they taste good. But right now, the reason I love it so much is all my senses are alive, you know, hearing the birds, feeling the soil, smelling the earth, the visual appeal of, you know, flowers all around me. And my bum is on the ground right now, so I'm connected to the earth. It feels great. This is what I should be doing. I think we all should be doing a little bit of this whenever we can. And this is just an investment in my future too. So doing this work now, although it doesn't feel like work, I won't need to go to the supermarket. I'll be able to eat the best, the healthiest, organic food from the earth, fresh as possible. So that's the investment, but it's a good one. Oh, we'll do the rest by here, I think. Up on the terrace. All right, so last one of the summer crookneck squash is going in. I've got 6 plants. Maybe that's too many crookneck squash. Maybe I'm going to be overrun in a few months' time with crookneck squash. I'm going to have to come up with some recipes with them. But, you know, I can always give them away to friends and family and people that are in need. There will never be food wasted. And right now is the season of an infamous mushroom that is out there in the wild somewhere, that has evaded me for a long time. But I have an inkling from a very special friend that's told me there could be one of these incredible mushrooms very close to my house. So before we go out and find it, if it's there, we're going to plant out some sunflowers, because I have a competition with my mum to see who can grow the biggest sunflower. So we're going to plant those out now, and then we'll get in the car and head down to find this infamous mushroom. I've just realised that that's just the summer squash. I got winter squash to plant out too, but we'll do that another time. Oh. Shut this, keep the warmth in. I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually really competitive. So I'm taking this sunflower growing competition very seriously. So I've got some compost on the ground again, and we'll just dig a hole and get them in. Right, I think I should actually extend this competition, this sunflower growing competition, to you guys. If you think you can grow a massive sunflower bigger than mine, I don't know how mine are going to be, how big mine are going to be, but If you think you can, send me a photo on Instagram, standing next to it, let me know the height. Winner gets a signed copy of my cookbook, and we'll end that competition. Entries ended at 1st of October, if that makes sense. And I'm definitely gonna beat my mum.
I'm gonna win.
Oh, look at them cows. Oh, it's limping, that one. Let's go find these crazy mushrooms. Uh-oh, it's muddy. Oh. Oh. Yes. Look at that. That is chicken growing in the wild. Chicken of the woods mushroom. And that's a colossal sized one. So I'm just admiring this extra little cluster over here too. This is obviously a hot spot, and my friend Josie and her lovely daughter Summer actually discovered this spot a few days ago, and she let me know. So shout out to them for leaving me some to cook with. This is amazing. I'm so excited. I've never foraged it myself. I've always been given it by friends who that foraged it. So this will be my first time harvesting my own chicken of the woods. And I now know it's here, so I won't take too much, I'll take just enough. But a surprising fact about it is that it's got a huge amount of protein in comparison to other mushrooms. It's got like 14 grams of protein per 100 grams of mushroom. It's kind of hard to cut, but there we go. Look at the colour on that, and you can see the flesh on the centre. It's got this amazing texture, just raw. Now this does need to be cooked to get rid of any toxicity, but I can almost feel that meatiness. There's another piece. Now as you can see, it's almost like levels, like shelves on this tree, and that's another name for it, sulphur shelf for some reason. And as you can see, that's all I'm taking from this area. We'll leave that for the flora and fauna and whatever else needs to be done with that mushroom. So that's a nice little harvest. We'll get some from the big cluster down below. I cannot believe this. This is such a, I feel like my inner child is coming out here. I love foraging, particularly for this majestic, magnificent mushroom right down by the river too. Well, what a successful day in the garden and foraging too. This has been a momentous day for me. What an incredible, beautiful moment outside in nature. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below if you do enjoy these garden videos, and just, encourage us, because YouTube is hard, but we're sticking at it, and it brings us joy sharing, diaries and stories through food. And stay tuned for some recipes with this. It'll blow your mind, seriously. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.